We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. Each one of you is welcome to from wherever you are connecting. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. Be the unsafe same to a friend and to a stranger. I had spoken on this earlier, but there was a need to repeat this again. So, as a result, I am speaking on this once again. Be the same to a friend and to a stranger in honor and dishonor. Our approach dealing with a friend differs than with a stranger or with the person that we are in conflict. Also, it differs when somebody is honoring you or dishonoring you. A Western Northrop has been saying somewhere the Western mind has been continuously searching for the theoretical components of existence, theoretical components, the causal link for how things happen, what is the cause, how the effect can be controlled, how man can manipulate nature. In the Eastern mind, it is different. Eastern mind says Northrop has been on a different adventure. The search has been to find aesthetic components of reality. Aesthetic components, there is a difference between aesthetic components and theoretical components. Eastern minds have not been much involved with the search to know how to manipulate nature. There are certain things over which you have no control. You have to live with it. But it has been interested in how to be one in harmony with the nature, not how to conquer it. Science wants to conquer nature. Eastern mind wants to live in harmony with nature, but in how to be in a deep friendship, deep communion, deep participation with the nature is the way of Eastern understanding. The Western mind initially starts with a conflict, a struggle. The Eastern mind is mystic and in a love relationship. I do not know whether Northrop will agree with me or not, but my feeling is that science is a hatred and a relationship of hatred with nature cannot help you to understand it. Even when in your own personal life, when your relationship is based on hatred, struggle, fight, conquering, language of the victory, then nothing harmonious can happen. Religion, the Eastern way, is a love relationship. So there need not be any kind of conflict or struggle. Even if in life you want to attain harmony, oneness, and experience love, you have to give up the conflict, struggle. Instead, you have to move in the other direction. In another way, science is male oriented and religion is female oriented. Its approach is feminine. Science has a masculine approach, aggressive. Religion is receptive. You notice that they are women by nature, the feminine mind. I'm not talking about woman, the biological woman. I'm talking about the heart that is of feminine nature. Intellect, mind is masculine in nature. The Eastern mind is religious because it is receptive, it is feminine. If you allow me, I will say that wherever a religious mind is, whosoever, whether in the East or West, it is feminine in nature, because this femininity of the person is Eastern approach. He may have some liking in the Eastern way of life, be it language, be it culture, be it anything else. Wherever a religious mind is, it is feminine, it is receptive, it is Eastern. The scientific mind is Western. This does not mean this particular kind of a mind will only be found in the West, or the Eastern, or the religious, feminine, receptive mind will only be found in the East. There is no barriers of East and West. These are two approaches. I'm not talking about biological. I'm not talking about the geographical East and West. I'm talking about the psychological Eastern approach and the Western approach. One is male oriented, the other is female oriented. The one that is male oriented is aggressive. The one that is female oriented is receptive, is feminine. It makes no difference whether man is born, whether a person is born in the East or West. I am using the Eastern and Western, East and West, as attitude, as approaches, two approaches, and not as geographical denominations. You can be born in the West, but you may not belong there. Sometimes you feel you are born in the West, but your heart vibrates with the Eastern way, that way of femininity, the way of receptivity, the way of acceptance. You may be born in the East, you may not belong there, you may be of a scientific mind, aggressive mind. Even in your personal relationship or harmony with the nature, with existence, the approach may be mathematical, intellectual. These are the two extreme possibilities: feminine, receptive approach, aggressive, masculine approach. Then there is an approach beyond the two. You are neither masculine nor feminine. You are confluence of the two. At times, the master has to use the feminine approach. At times, he has to use the masculine, the aggressive approach. When your journey of inwardness or meditation begins, whichever route you follow, ultimately at the end, you reach to the other. If you start from a masculine mind, when you attain to totality, you will be feminine in nature, feminine, receptive in approach. You may start from a feminine approach, and so it is you can start from any side. It is like a coin. You can there are two sides of the coin, the head and tail. But when you begin your journey, you can start from the head side and reach to the tail when you complete the circle, and in the final analysis, you have to discard the two. Only then you attain transcendence. Tantra is absolutely Eastern in its approach. It is the way of participating with the reality, with existence, with that which is. The way how to be one with it, how to dissolve boundaries of male and female, masculine and feminine, receptive and aggressive, how to move in an undifferentiated realm. Mind differentiates, creates boundaries, definitions, because mind cannot work without definitions, without boundaries. The more clear-cut the boundaries are, the better is the possibility for the mind to work. So mind cuts, divides, chops, everything. It is like a knife, and it is like scissors. And the feminine mind is religion, is like dissolving the boundaries in order to move to an undifferentiated realm where there are no definitions, no limits to anything, where everything moves into everything else, where everything is everything else. It is like an operation. In order to correct something, the doctor uses the knife and scissors, makes an incision in the particular part of the body. So this is dividing, cutting, chopping everything. He has to do that in order to remove, to solve the problem that you are having. Then he uses the needle to unite it again. Once the malignant or that part which is creating problem is removed, he uses the two approaches, and it is only through these two approaches, working simultaneously hand in hand with one another, the doctor brings health to you, because he heals the unhealthy in you, removes it, and brings things back in harmony. So religion is one aspect. So you see the transcendence. First, the doctor does the incision, cuts off the unwanted parts of growths, and then he uses the needle to bring them back into the life. So these two approaches, and beyond that is transcendence. If something has gone wrong with you, with your system, the two approaches are necessary in order to bring back the healing and health to you. The master does this, and this is the third approach, which is neither the approach of creating clear-cut boundaries or the approach of creating an undifferentiated realm where there are no definitions, where there is no limits to anything. But for that, first he has to cut and then use. First the approach has to be used, and then he has to use the approach of the religion. So two things he has to use. And again, it depends upon the circumstance and situation, and also the person on whom the master is working. So religion is dissolving of the boundaries in order to move to the undifferentiated a realm where there are no definitions, no limits to anything, where everything moves into everything else, where everything is everything else. You cannot cut, you cannot chop existence. The consequences are bound to be very different. The example that I gave you of a surgeon is a different approach. When this approach is necessary when something is not functioning in the right way. So for the process of transformation or inner healing, this approach is used. Otherwise, there is no way that you can cut or chop the existence. The consequences are bound to be very different in each approach. By the scientific approach, by dividing, chopping, you can come only to the dead particles, atoms, because life is something which cannot be cut into divisions or divided. And the moment you cut it, you are no more there. It is as if someone goes to study a symphony by studying each single note. Symphony is different notes working in harmony with one another. Each single note is part of the symphony, but it is not symphony. Each note is not symphony. It is a part of it. You see, there are 7 notes in music, but the symphony is a combination of different notes. Raga is a combination of different notes. There are certain basic spices when it comes to cooking. The basic spices: coriander, turmeric, chili powder. Then there are aromatic spices. Each dish has a combination of these. When these are used in a particular combination, in a particular manner, we get the gravies. The same spices are used. Combination of the spice notes, if I put it in musical terminology, will be used whether you are making a smooth gravy or you are making something which is called kadhai paneer, kadhai item, where it is a combination of a smooth and coarse. So certain spices are added as a harmony, and then it is topped up with coarsely crushed spices. So it is a combination of the two. So symphony uses many notes, but none of the notes is symphony. Different Spices are used in gravy, they are part and parcel of the gravy, but none of the spice in its solitary existence can be considered as gravy. Gravy is the symphony, combination of different spices in different proportions for different purposes. The same is the case with music. You are taking the different notes, putting together in different scales in order to change. Sometimes you are changing the bass, sometimes you are changing something else as the term may be applied to the music, and the effect is totally different. In the same way, when you are creating a gravy which is a symphony, you may add the aromatic spices a little more, or the pungent spice like chili a little more, or the color, or you can remove the red color completely and make a white gravy. So spices are same, but the symphonies, the final product differs, and it is based on the different combinations of spices. Spice notes. I cannot study you. A master cannot study you, cannot bring about transformation in you by studying your parts. You come with the problem, a detailed analysis, diagnosis is to be done. You talk about one problem, but there are basic roots, basic problems. Just as using the different notes, you create different effects. The same way, different problems, when they are working together, then there is a complicated situation which has to be handled in a different way. In a different way. You have to know the cause of it rather than the effect, the symptoms. That is why when the medical science is based on symptoms, it fails to provide the inner healing. For inner healing, I have to go into the complete diagnosis. Know your childhood, know your youth, know your personal life, know your love life, love relationships, and so many other things before I could provide a prescription for the process of your transformation. I cannot study you by studying only parts. You are not falling asleep, you have problem of insomnia. What is the cause of this insomnia? That cannot be known in an ordinary manner. It can be because of the toxicity in the body. It can be because of so many other factors. You are more than that. You are not just part or the total of the parts. I had given the example. Car is not sum total of all the parts. If all the parts of the car, the body, the doors, the steering wheel, the braking system, the battery, the engine, if you put all these things together in a room, will that room be called car? No. When they are put, all these parts are put in a particular manner that is needed for that, is put together, brake as the brake system, where it's supposed to be, the accelerator where it's supposed to be. Accelerator cannot be put in the trunk. So it has to be in the right place, where the battery has to go, where the steering wheel has to go, where the light has to go, where the bonnet has to go, where the doors have to go. When all these things are put together in a particular part, although it is a sum total, the aggregate of all these parts were put in a room or in a garage, but that does not be called as a car. When it is put together in a particular manner, in a particular way, then it attains mobility. It starts. So the mechanic starts putting the parts one after the other. He knows where the engine has to go, where the starter has to go, where the battery has to go, where the radiator has to go. So all these things, when are put together in the right place where they are supposed to be, then he tumbles the ignition, the car starts. That's why when you divide and cut, analyze everything, that may be necessary for a specific purpose. When you divide, cut and analyze, life disappears. You remove the steering wheel, car is alive because all the parts are working in harmony with one another. You remove the battery, will car be alive? You remove the steering wheel, the car will be alive but it cannot move. You remove the steering, remove the braking system, the car will be alive, will start, but it will not be functional. For functional, everything has to be in order. And if you remove certain parts, what you will get, life disappears. The life of the car has disappeared. Only dead parts are left. That is why science will never be capable of knowing what life is. So when you are doing the arranging the car, you carry the car for straightening and painting. He removes certain parts. It is a scientific process. Then he starts putting them together. Again, it is a scientific part, but the way he organizes and puts them together in order to bring the life to the body, to the car, functional life to the car, that is the part of religion. Science may become whatsoever is known through this science will be about death. If he removes only the parts and does not put the way it's supposed to be, how they are aligned, that is something which is not scientific or mechanical alone. It is mechanical plus aesthetic together. And when these two things are put together, then life comes in. Science may become capable of manipulating life, of knowing the parts, the dead parts. It may be capable of manipulating life, but still life will remain unknown, not even touched. Life remains unknowable for science by the very method of its technology, its methodology, by its very approach. It cannot be known completely. So unless the two things are put together, the surgeon operates through, he knows very well where the different parts are, which particular part he has to do the incision in order to correct that problem that you are facing. Then after he removed the part which was unnecessary or problematic, then he uses a religious approach, puts it together, uses the needle to sew it back, to bring it together. And after that, even before the operation is performed, he is very religious, very feminine in his approach. Even after, he is very feminine. But it is during the time of performing the surgery, he is scientific. But whatsoever he does it in a scientific manner. You can handle love in a scientific manner. You know how to work scientifically or how to work religiously in order to bring back the harmony in life. Matter is divided, differentiated. Matter means life defined, analyzed into parts. So of course, if you look at the life undifferentiatedly and become part of it, it is deep participation. In life, you need deep participation. When you are creating a musical symphony, all the notes are in deep participation with one another, adding their qualities to one another. There is no conflict in them. When you are creating a symphony of gravy, all the ingredients add their qualities to it. And basically, the Indian cooking is the balance between ingredients and heat. Onion is one of the most important ingredients. How to cook, how to cut it, to what extent, at what heat you have to cook. And then you add, in certain things, you need to have it golden fried. In certain things, you have to have just seared, change its color. So all these ingredients that are added, like for instance coriander, it balances, creates the balance, harmonizes all the different ingredients together. So coriander is used in much bigger quantity than turmeric or chili powder. Onion is used in a bigger quantity than ginger and garlic. So coriander harmonizes the qualities of together into a cohesive paste that we call it as a gravy. You remove the coriander and prepare the gravy. You cannot have the gravy. You can prepare the gravy without turmeric, without chili, but you cannot do it without coriander. You do not eat onion and garlic. You can remove these, but you cannot remove coriander powder from the gravy. It is the backbone, it is the life force of a gravy. Whether you are making a green gravy or white gravy or regular tomato and onion gravy. Tomatoes are used. So coriander is the one that harmonizes. So in the same way, you have to look for the ingredients that harmonizes the function. Look at the life undifferentiatedly and become part of it in a deep participation. All the ingredients are different, but they are put together in harmony and they are working in deep participation. Means you are becoming one with existence. As two lovers become one, matter disappears. That is why Shankar says the matter is illusion. If you participate in existence, it is. But Karl Marx says that consciousness is just a byproduct. It is not substantial. It is just a function of matter. If you divide life, then consciousness disappears, becomes illusory, then only matter remains. What I am intending to say, existence is one. If you approach it through analysis, it appears matter. If you approach the gravy from the process of analysis, it is material, it is dead. If you approach it through the participation of different ingredients, different notes, it appears as life, as divine. Gravy is divine, is alive. It brings happiness, bliss to you together. It is no more matter. You cannot eat coriander by itself. The powder or seeds. You cannot eat other things by itself in the same proportion. When all these things are put together, there is a harmony, there is a deep participation of all the ingredients together. All the musical notes are participating in harmony with one another. That harmony, the symphony, is capable of bringing the happiness to the person who is listening to the concert. At the most, it can be illusory. Only with a deep participation it becomes bliss. Only with deep participation it becomes bliss. I'll continue on this in next session. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.